Good morning. Welcome back to your weekly ag update from Blomgren Seed in Boone, Iowa. It's a little windy this morning, so bear with us. We'll do the best job we can for audio quality. We're going to shoot kind of a three-part video series this morning. We'll try and move quickly so we don't spend too much time. We're in a field in central Boone County, planted on May 7th. These are Asgrow 2035 beans planted in 15-inch rows. We've had the question asked to us, is there an advantage in 15s versus 30s? The majority of our guys are planting 30-inch rows. We wanted to come out and kind of show you the difference. We're going to look at two fields this morning, only planted a day apart, one on 15s and one on 30s. So the first thing we're going to do is stage our plants and talk a little bit about what's going on with these plants. Again, as you remember, going back to our earlier videos, we have the unifoliate, the only time that you have two single leaves. And then we start counting each section that has three leaves. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're in the V7 stage here. Really anything after V5, what we're looking for is the first set of flowers. So as I show between 1, 2, 3, between 3 and 6. So here's the third node. I'm going to come in. Dane will kind of guide me here. I have a full set of flowers. This bean is actually starting to enter into the reproductive stage. So what's going on in this bean's life? This bean has already determined maximum number of nodes. It's actually starting the reproductive cycle. Today is June 21st. Yesterday was the longest day of summer. We're going into the reproductive cycle. These beans are going to start utilizing their energy to produce flowers in each one of the racemes, and then we are going to start to see node development, not node development, but actually pod development very soon. So very important time in these beans' lives. Really when we look at root development, we're going to start to see a high level of node development on the root system. The other thing that we want to monitor in these beans is going to be the health of the pith inside of the stem. So as we look at specifically right now diseases like Phytophthora, we're looking for any unhealthy discoloration. We're not seeing that out here so far this year, but it certainly has been the type of year that would set up for that. So what I'm going to ask to do before we move fields, excuse me, I'm going to have Dane kind of turn the camera and go down the rows. I think it's important to note on these 15-inch rows, these rows are almost closed. I mean, there's very little soil left showing, maybe a couple inches between the leaves, but we're very, very close to closing these rows on the 15-inch rows. Later in the year, when we can take these fields to yield, we're going to do a report and tell you guys how they yielded versus each other. They're very similarly managed. So really the question will be, do we see a yield bump? Certainly there's an advantage this year, probably in height and closing those rows a little bit faster. We'll pick up across the street in the 30-inch rows. Okay, we're back for part two. So we're across the road. Real quick, I forgot to do our GDU update. So 975 accumulated GDUs as of April 12th. That's about 80 ahead of pace. Precipitation, we're at 9.12 inches. That's actually almost 3 inches behind average rainfall. So it's important to keep track of GDUs. It helps us to understand where our plants should be at in their progression. It helps us understand tassel time, reproductive stages, and the disease cycles to be paying attention to. But we'll talk more about that when we get back to the corn. So again, looking at beans planted a day later than the 15-inch rows and staging them. I want to show real quick, we had the spade on this one, and we've got just really good root development here. We've got good nodes on the root. So then the question is, what are we seeing for a difference? What are we seeing for a difference in the plants? So I'm going to kind of try and get a guy out here. So again, really healthy nodulation on the root system. Still got a cotyledons attached, unifoliate, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So almost identically staged as across the road. When we go to the third node, we've got those flowers exposed. So stage-wise, these plants have progressed almost identical to what we have across the street, even though they were planted a day later. But as we look down the rows, you guys will see the discoloration on the top leaves. This field was sprayed with Flexstar GT. You can see we've got really good weed kill in the field, but there's still a significant gap in these rows. There's a solid there's a solid 12 to 15 inches left to close in these rows. So again, is that gonna equate to yield? We're going to have to wait and see. Plant development looks really good. Populations are similar, but certainly we're going to want to keep an eye on how these plants branch, how long it takes them to close the row, and what kind of effect it has on this field throughout the rest of the growing season. So we'll join you back up. We're going to talk about corn in a second. Okay, third and final part of our video, we're going to discuss corn a little bit. Again, why is it important to understand GDUs? It's important to understand GDUs because we want to know what's happening physiologically inside of our corn plant. So if you remember, when we want to stage a corn plant, we're to the point now where we basically need to split a plant. Again, the short node at the bottom, you've got 1 through 4. 5, 6 should be right about at the soil surface. And these corn plants that we pulled today show something pretty cool. And I'll try and bring this in so Dane can see. He'll guide me. But right out of that 6th node, you like that right there? Yep. Right at the 6th node right there, you can see this plant starting to push off of that node those brace roots. So 2 things need to happen for those brace roots to establish well. The plant obviously needs to be healthy, but we need to continue to have moisture at the soil level. These roots are going to seek moisture. If the soil is too hard and if there's not adequate moisture, they will just brown off. These guys are going to be critical to giving us that stability as we go through the growing season. This plant stages between V11 and V12. We're rapidly approaching tassel. We're putting on a new leaf collar basically every 2 to 3 days right now. And this plant is beginning to accumulate a lot of nutrient value and a lot of dry matter. This is the time in this plant's life between now and when it starts tasseling and filling that ear, where it's using a ton of moisture and a ton of nitrogen. We need to be confident in our fertility levels. We need to be confident in our nitrogen levels. This is really the time in this plant's life that becomes really critical. If this plant goes through extreme stress, it will actually start to negatively impact the ear size that this plant has the potential to set. So all in all, really happy. If you remember, we've been talking a lot about these nodal roots. We're seeing really nice nodal root development. The rains we got towards the end of last week really helped with that. We need that to continue coming to keep this soil soft and moist at the surface level. And then we need to be confident in our nutrient levels. If you guys have doubts or concerns about your nutrient levels, get a hold of us. We've got some great tools to help make decisions about that. And otherwise, just keep scouting. Keep your eyes on what's happening. Make sure you understand your growth stage and what's a fair expectation of these plants come harvest. So that is your weekly ag update from Blomgren Seed in Boone, Iowa. Thank you very much.